Barmy, the fact that you're so good, you lose some really good kids too, don't you? Coleman Jones, Chol, two big guys have gone, left the club, and I suppose that's testament to how strong you've been. But you would have got probably draft picks for them, and is sort of a bit of a rebuild, getting a lot more kids into the team.
Yeah, I think the one thing I'm quite proud of with our club is that we're prepared to take the individual into account, whereas once you didn't, you just sort of go to buggery, just do what you're told. But someone like Coleman Jones, we used to in the old days, didn't we? It was terrible. But now, I mean, Callum comes to us and wants to go. We want him to stay. We think it's important that he stays. But he says to us, look, I don't think I'm going to get an opportunity to play because Soldo's going to come back. Nank's your number one ruckman. You've got a couple of others. I don't think you're going to give me opportunities. I need a chance. And we at least took that into account and listened to him. So we decided that we'd let him go. Because, again, if it were just us, we would have made sure we kept him at least for another 12 months to see what happens. But I think that's one of the good things about footy nowadays, and our club particularly, is that we do try and take the individual into account rather than it just being for us. And then they know that when it's their turn to show us the way and sacrifice something for themselves. So, but yeah, and you're right. And Charles is very talented too, and we let him go. But when you look at the list, we got plenty of blokes to replace him, and we're not quite sure how we're going to do it anyway. So that's the challenge in front of us. It's only enough. Now that you mentioned the challenge is we've got half a dozen new kids who look like they're going to be decent players. Now, we don't need to play that much, AFL footy in the first 12 months, although I think, the way Josh Gibcus has gone as a defender, I think he might get a game early. But we've also got another probably dozen kids who show a hell of a lot but haven't had quite enough opportunities to decide whether they're players yet or not. So that's part of our challenge as well, because the older blokes we got are not going to play forever, and when we replace them, we've got to replace them and still be a really a premiership challenging team. So we've got to make sure that whether they can or they can't, and that'll be part of Damien and the coach's job, is to give these kids the opportunity to show they can play. But people like even Rossi, who's played a bit but not enough, Riley Collier Dawkins, Dowie, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's quite a few who we've just got to give the chances to play, and you have to make a conscious decision to do that. So, which is one of the great things about footy, is that they're the things you've got to solve, and hopefully you make the right decisions.
Neil Balme, I guess. The other one I thought really hurt you, Noah Balta. I just love him as a big defender, can take on the big forwards. Is he tracking for round one?
Yes, he's playing well. He's been playing a little bit forward and ruck as well. So we know he can play as a defender, and we think the real strengths that he's got could be very, very hard to stop as a key forward. So we're really having a look to see whether we can build that into him and see how he goes and see whether he takes that opportunity. But they're the things that you've got to fit into your program somehow. But from my point of view, he's a very exciting player. There's no doubt about that.